Namaskar friends, I am Sanjay Mansukhani from changedestiny.in. I am a teacher of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. We have been covering the fourth chapter of the Yoga Sutras, which goes into the details of Kaivalya or liberation of the soul from Prakriti. So this is the last talk from this chapter, and we will be looking at the last few stages of what happens in the yogi's mind while he is going through the ending stages of Kaivalya. So we had seen yesterday that a yogi goes through the Dharma Megh Samadhi. Dharma Megh Samadhi is a samadhi where the qualities, the good virtues rain down as if from a cloud on the yogi, and they help clean up all the impurities of the mind. And once these impurities get cleaned up, then the yogi reaches a high state of perfection. The yogi reaches a high state of sattva, a high state of knowledge. And also along with this, there are two important things which start happening. If you remember, while we were dealing with the sadhana chapter of the Yoga Sutras, we had discussed about the kleshas. Kleshas are those obstacles on the path of yoga which are deep inside an individual, and they are there right from the occasion of birth. So these kleshas are sanskaras which are not easy to move out, which are not easy to diminish. Therefore Patanjali had suggested in the sadhana pada that the practice of yoga must begin with kriya yoga, and one should do tapasya, which is penances for purification of the body and the senses. One must do swadhyay for purification of the mind, and one must do Ishvara Pranidhana so that the supernatural powers which affect our life can also be brought under control. And by doing this, he says in that sadhana chapter that we are able to weaken the kleshas. The kleshas become weak, and now one can attack these kleshas with further practice which are of advanced nature. And then he goes on to speak about the Ashtanga Yoga, the Yama, which are the social disciplines, the Niyama, which are the personal disciplines which a yogi must follow, about the asana, how to keep the body comfortable and still steady while doing meditation, the pranayama, how to control the breath so that the mind can slow down and the mind can come inside from the outer world. And then he talks about pratyahara. Pratyahara is where the mind is now fully in, where the senses have lost their powers, where the mind which was focused on the outside world has lost its powers of going out, and now the mind is busy going in. So these are the first 5 angas which Patanjali has suggested, which helps us to keep on weakening further the kleshas. And then in the chapter on vibhutis, in the chapter on the siddhis, he goes on further to say that there is a higher form of yoga. There is a yoga which is connected to internal work, and this internal work comprises of dharana, dhyana and samadhi. In dharana, the mind which was outside, which has come in, is brought to a single place inside the mind. And once it has come to a single place, then it is brought to a single point, that is dhyana. And once when it has come to a single point, it is further focused deep at that single point till that mind absolutely disappears. It becomes so fine that there is no virtual mind now. The conscious mind is no longer present. So by following these methods, we are actually step by step, stage by stage, burning out all these kleshas, all the impediments to yoga which have been there right from birth. And the biggest one is ignorance about who we are, avidya. But once when we go through this practice of dharana, dhyana and samadhi, we get access to knowledge, we get access to wisdom, we get access to intuition, we get access to pragya. So this knowledge is extrasensory knowledge. This knowledge is beyond the knowledge which is coming in from the worldly senses. And dear friends, when this knowledge starts coming in, then the avidya, the ignorance goes away, and then the practitioner of yoga, the yogi, finds out that he has complete knowledge and now he knows who he truly is. So this is the point when the kleshas disappear. And kleshas are essentially deep sanskaras. There are other sanskaras also, other sanskaras from past lives, other sanskaras which are there from the present life. So these sanskaras, they have been formed out of vrittis, out of thoughts and ideas which the mind has created from the outer environment, from what is happening inside the mind. Now here the yogi, is even burning these sanskaras. And how do the sanskaras get burnt? Sanskaras get burnt by knowledge. Now since the yogi is going deep into meditation, he is getting a tremendous power of discrimination. He is having access to divine wisdom. He is able to discern what is the true knowledge, what is life all about. If he starts getting knowledge of all that one needs to know knowledge about, so he starts becoming slowly and steadily omniscient. And as he receives omniscience, as he receives more and more knowledge, he also starts enjoying higher and higher powers, because knowledge in a way is power. So when a yogi has access to extrasensory knowledge, to supernatural knowledge, he also now has access to extrasensory powers, to supernatural powers, to mystic powers, and these are called siddhis. These are powers which normal people do not have, and normal people also do not see it displayed in their day-to-day life. But a yogi, because he has gone through the process of Ashtanga, because he has opened up his powers of discrimination, because now he is operating not from the Panch Mahabhuta region, not from the senses, the Indriya region, not from the Mana region, not from the Ahankar region, but he is operating from the Buddhi region, he is operating from the Mahat region. And because this region of the mind is sattvic, this region of the mind is pure, here there is no trace of tamas, here there is no trace of rajas. Why there is no trace of tamas and why there is no trace of rajas? Because tamas represents form, and form becomes a memory, and then it starts affecting our mind, then it starts creating vrittis in us, then it starts creating memories in us, because it is based around form. So once when we are entering deep inside the mind, our tamas starts getting cleaned up, our tamas starts getting purified, and the rajas, the movement in the forms, the changes in the forms which have been picked up from the senses, they also start getting cleaned up, they also start getting burnt out. So the tamas and the rajas are being burnt. And how are they being burned? A yogi is burning them through knowledge. So these tamas and rajas actually constitute the kleshas, they actually constitute the sanskaras, they actually constitute the karma. So the yogi, using the knowledge which he is getting from discrimination, which he is getting from within his mind in the form of pragya, in the form of intuition, in the form of divine wisdom, he is using it to burn out all these unwanted sanskaras. And as these sanskaras burn out, there is no trace left of them. They are now impotent. They cannot create new karma. They cannot create new vrittis. So here the cycle of life as we had known it initially, the life cycle of vritti, sanskara, karma, jivan chakram, where life was moving in a circle. Vritti was causing sanskara, sanskara was causing karma, karma in the outer world was creating more vrittis, and that is the way the life, the jivana was moving ahead in the form of a cycle, in the form of a chakram. Now all that stops. Now there is no scope for this to happen. And because of this tremendous power of discrimination, the dharma-make samadhi which has happened gives complete detachment to the yogi. The yogi now is no longer connected with desires. Now yogi has no longer any attachment to the objects of the world outside. The yogi is completely free. And when the yogi is completely free from attachment, from kleshas, from his karma, from his sanskara, he is slowly, steadily moving into the domain of Kevalya. He is moving towards liberation. In a short while, in a few steps, the soul of the yogi would be free, would be liberated from Prakriti, would be completely free from nature, from the mind and body complex, and the soul will be out. So, what happens here is, as the mind with the purification becomes more and more sattvic, there is an automatic presence of tremendous knowledge which is all pervading, and this knowledge is not only now pervading in the ahankara, in the individual mind, but it is pervading in the chitta. Why the chitta? Because as we had seen in the Sankhya philosophy of the 25 tattvas, from Prakriti, the Mool Prakriti, the first manifestation which comes out is Mahat. Mahat is the cosmic mind. This mind is present everywhere. And our buddhi, our intelligence, is an individual part of this cosmic intelligence. Why is it an individual part? Because of the ahankara, because of the doership. So once when the yogi goes into the practice of meditation, he is able to bring his mind from the outer world to deep inside. He starts pulling back his attention from the world outside to different portions of his mind, tattvas inside. And as it keeps on moving inside, his mind becomes more and more sattvic. And when his attention comes to the chitta, when his attention comes to the buddhi, he gets connected to the cosmic mind. He becomes free from the individual mind. And when he is connected to the cosmic mind, he also has access to all the cosmic knowledge. So initially when he was in the individual mind, he was working through ahankara. He had access to his individual knowledge of the senses, which was limited to what the five senses could perceive. The five senses of our sight, of our hearing, of our smelling, of our tasting, and of our feeling the temperature. But now, because he has operating from the buddhi stage, from the mahat stage, he is actually in the domain of cosmic knowledge, and now he has complete knowledge of all there is to know. He has complete knowledge of all that is knowable. So this complete knowledge removes his avidya. This complete knowledge gives him tremendous power of discrimination. This complete knowledge to which he has access now removes his ignorance. And when the ignorance goes away, when the avidya goes away, the mother klesha of avidya, once that goes away, then the other kleshas which do come out of the avidya klesha, the mother klesha of ignorance, then we find the ego also goes away, disappears. There are no limitations due to the ego now. The attachment, that is the raga, that also goes away. The aversion, the dvesha, that also disappears. And now he has no fear of death. He has no fear of death because now a yogi is not having an individual existence. A yogi now has a cosmic existence, and now a yogi realizes that he is the Purusha, he is the soul, and he is not the Prakriti, he is not the mind and matter combination. A yogi now realizes, because of his extreme power of discrimination, because of his supernatural knowledge which he has picked up from the cosmic mind combination. He is not operating out of the space and time domain. He is far, far beyond that. He is a multi-dimensional entity now, present in all time, present in all dimensions simultaneously at the same time. So he is a different state of being now. And this is what means Kevalya, because the yogi now operates from the domain of infiniteness. He has no limitations. He is now eternal because time has stopped for him. He has a constant consciousness. He is constant and pure consciousness. There is no change in him. And he comes out of Prakriti. He becomes free. He becomes independent. He reaches the state of Kevalya. He experiences liberation. He becomes absolutely independent. And this is the ultimate stage of yoga. Now such a yogi has omniscience, which is 100%. Now such a yogi has omnipotence, which is 100%. Now such a yogi is in complete happiness, is in complete ananda, because all the cause of sorrow was the mind. And since he has come out of the mind-body complex, now there is no mind. The mind itself has disappeared. So when the mind itself, dear friends, has disappeared, so there is no world also, because the world is always seen on the mind, and the soul sees the world's presence on the mind. But when the mind itself disappears because of samadhi, so there is no mind and there is no world. But that does not mean the world stops existing for other people. No. All those people who are still trapped in avidya, all those people who are still living in the space and time domain, all other people who still think they are the body and mind combination, for them this world exists. And their world is perceived by them in their mind. And their soul is not free from Prakriti. So their soul sees on the mind what the mind is seeing of the world. That is why the soul is trapped. Soul is trapped in the mind-body combination. But the moment the mind goes away, the moment the world goes away, now the soul of the yogi can see itself. It is occupied by being it in itself. The Sanskrit term for this is, now the soul is in Swarupa. It is a state of self-realization. It is a state of soul realization. It is a state of Atma Sakshatkar. So dear friends, in another sutra, Patanjali says it is precisely at this point that there is an access to unlimited nature of knowledge for the yogi. And just because now he has unlimited access to knowledge, all his impurities from the chitta have disappeared. All his impurities from the chitta have been removed. And all that remains to be known by him is of very minor nature. It is inconsequential. Virtually he knows everything now. He is sort of omniscient now. But his omniscience is still not equal to the omniscience of the Ishvara. A yogi might be advanced to any stage. He might have extremely high knowledge. But as we have seen, as per the definition of Ishvara, Ishvara is a Purusha who is special. Ishvara is a Purusha who is above Prakriti, and Ishvara is the seed of unsurpassable knowledge. That means no yogi, come what may, can ever have more knowledge than Ishvara. So, but his knowledge in this stage is sufficient, is high enough for him to remove his ignorance, to completely demolish his avidya, and now he has the complete power of discrimination to see what is important for him and what is not important for him, to see the difference between what his senses are seeing and what are there beyond his senses. So now he is able to sense the extra sensory inputs also. He has intuition, he has insight, he has pragya, he has pratibha, he has a sixth sense. So in a way you can say his third eye has opened up and he has access to all the knowledge around the cosmos, because he is operating from the cosmic stage of existence. He is operating from the Mahat. He has moved out from the Ahankara. His existence has no longer any individual relevance. He has merged with the cosmos. He is living as a universal cosmic entity now. Though he may be in a body, though he may be living on this planet, but his sanskaras have been removed, his kleshas have been cleaned out. So his existence is that of the state of Kevalya. Completely knowledgeable, completely powerful, still in the body, but not producing any karma now. There is no karma being produced by such a person, even though he may be acting in the world. But just because all his sanskaras, all his kleshas, all his vrittis, all his karmas have been finished, have been burnt, so there is no scope for any new karma to be formed. He lives till his time for death comes, and then he leaves the planet, then he leaves his existence as he is. Let us look at another one of these sutras where Patanjali says, now when all this happens, now when he has the complete knowledge, then what is the purpose of Prakriti now for him? What is the purpose of all the gunas which were performing various permutations and combinations for him? They now cease, because why were they performing various permutations and combinations? The gunas of Rajas, Tamas and Sattva, they were dancing around him to give him different kind of experiences. They are dancing around him, if he is tired of those experiences, to give him Kevalya. So the gunas have only one purpose. The gunas are here to give different experiences to the soul, and the gunas are here to give liberation, Kevalya, Mukti, Nirvana, Moksha to the soul. And once complete knowledge has come in, once the avidya is gone, once the kleshas and the karmas and the sanskaras are gone, then these gunas have absolutely no purpose and they are no longer needed in his prakriti. So they start packing up, they start leaving. Now there is no maneuvering by the gunas, there are no interactions of the gunas with each other. All this change was happening to give the yogi experience, but now with the yogi's complete detachment from any sort of experience, he has no need for these siddhis also. So the gunas have no motivation, the gunas have no impetus to provide a never-ending variety of stimulation to him. The gunas have no purpose to serve for such a person. Therefore what they do is, they stop and they disappear. They go back to their primal state of Prakriti. The gunas become latent. The gunas go back, dissolve into the mool Prakriti, and then the yogi becomes free of the play of gunas around him. Another interesting fact which Patanjali says in the next sutra, he says that the progression of any object in time is a result of series of moments, and it can only be perceived at the last moment of change. So what it means, dear friends, is, if you remember the first sutra of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, where Patanjali said, Atha Yoga Anushasanam, he says, now we begin the yoga as a discipline. Now we begin the exposition of yoga. Now in this auspicious moment we begin our yoga. So in the penultimate sutra he says the progression of time is actually a series of moments, but these moments pass away too soon and we do not realize how many moments have passed. But it is only when we reach the last stage. So here He is referring to the state of Kaivalya. So what Patanjali is saying is, it is only when we reach the state of Kaivalya, state of liberation, state of mukti, moksha, nirvana, that we come to the realization that time has passed. So much of time has passed, moment by moment, without our realizing it, that we reach the stage of Kaivalya. So what he means is, you started the yoga in the now, and the time simply passes away moment by moment, and one fine day, one fine moment, you find yourself in the state of complete liberation, complete freedom. So dear friends, this also points out to the fact that it is in one lifetime one can achieve Kaivalya. It is in one lifetime that a person can achieve mukti, moksha, nirvana, because Patanjali in the first sutra says, now we begin, and the last sutra says, now we come to the last point. Now we come to liberation. So what it means effectively is, in one lifetime, moksha is possible. In one lifetime, Kaivalya is possible. So that must be the goal of each and every person who is doing the sadhana of yoga. The goal for each and every sadhak, each and every yogi, must be the ultimate realization of Kaivalya, moksha, in this particular life form. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible, because the methodology has been clearly laid down by Patanjali, and all it needs is practice, sustained practice without interruption for long periods of time. And as you go through this practice, you will find that your chitta, your mind becomes cleaner and cleaner. You start acquiring higher and higher powers, higher and higher knowledge, higher and higher happiness. And as this goes further on, you reach the final stage of complete liberation. You become free from the cycle of birth and death. Now there are no births for you, because the kleshas have finished, the karmas have finished, the sanskaras have finished, the vrittis have finished. So the new gross body cannot be formed. The new subtle body is not transmigrating. So the yogi becomes free permanently from the cycle of birth and death. And just because he is becoming free from the cycle of birth and death permanently, he reaches the state of Kaivalya. He becomes free from Prakriti. He stays there, and the Ishvara also is there. Ishvara is the Param Purusha. Our Purusha is just an individual Purusha, and Prakriti is there, but he will never now merge with Prakriti. He will never now go close to Prakriti and instigate and trigger a new world, a new life form, because he has had his experiences and he has experienced even Bhoga and Yoga. Now the Purusha has absolutely no need to start this whole cycle, this whole process again, because it is a process of tremendous sorrow. When the Purusha and the Prakriti come together, the mind comes into place, and this mind is the cause of all human sorrow. So it is with great difficulty that this mind is put to an end. Therefore the Purusha never ever in his entire eternal life will ever go close to the Prakriti and instigate a new evolution, instigate a new creation. So friends, this is all about liberation, and I hope you have been able to understand it in detail. We thank you for being here and listening to this talk. This talk is essentially a part of a series of talks to help people understand the basic principles of the Yoga Sutras, and also to help them to experience permanent happiness in their life. And once when you experience this permanent happiness in your life, you can teach the principles to your family members, to the members of your society, to the people of your country, and to the people of the world at large. And when you do that honestly and sincerely, we will have a happy planet, and we will be able to pass on a happy planet to our forthcoming generations. So dear friends, thank you once again for being patient enough for listening to this talk, and we hope that you are achieving a sense of permanent happiness in life. you are growing in your internal understanding of who you truly are and are experiencing more and more power, more and more knowledge in your day-to-day existence. Thank you so much again. God bless each one of you. Thank you.